professionals who need sharper
Just look at these short video clips.
memory and better concentration. It helps improve mental clarity, keep your mood calm, and removes brain fog, so you retain more information and think clearly. You'll be able to decipher complex ideas, work faster, and stay focused all day long. Just take 2 capsules a day to replenish your brain power and find your new flow. Check Tech products to get yours today.
We've all heard of stereotyping, probably have a sense that it's not a great thing to do. Did you know that the term originally came from printing, setting on a plate so you could have lots of prints of the same thing? And did you know that the abstract way that we use it now?
When they ate a lot of dairy fat, ghee is clarified butter. I'd made ghee famous in the US by putting it in coffee. Well, they didn't have all this diabetes, all this heart attack stuff. It was only when American companies came to India, and then we convinced them to get rid of their traditional oils to have healthy vegetable oil and charge them more for it, that obesity skyrocketed. So we know that it's seed oils that are causing diabetes and even cancer.
So I'm no expert in this technical stuff, though I have made this topic. What I am going to discuss about the behavioral or the psychological or the understanding of these behaviors. But we'll just basically touch where we are standing in terms of technology now. It may have been more advanced than what I am telling here. So the social media obviously is growing, and obviously it's massive. The use is almost all the newer generation or the current generation people or population who has phones or screens are using social media. And yet the short form videos or reels or whatever we call it are the ones that currently dominating the screens or the social media. And we can see that more often we are seeing that the pages that we see are not anymore from our friends and only from our families or societies. It's more and more advertisements and commercial based. And AI is not separate. Social media also incorporates or trying to incorporate AI as much as possible. And the groups are not universal, these social media groups. They are becoming more community kind of specific. For example, you can see these groups pages like Acknowledging Violence and Yadarthavari, Vijana Virodhi kind of things. They can try to attract more small groups rather than being kind of universal. So AI, so when we last few years back, AI was just, we were starting to hear the words AI, but now it is most of the apps have come to include or incorporate AI. So it is not as separate, it is kind of used in, for example, the presentation that I used to create, the PowerPoint or this Canva, whatever it is. They are incorporating AI models. If you see the Adobe, it uses the AI technology. So every program or every applications, they are using it. And it's not that you give text and get the answers in text. It is becoming multimodal. And it is not sticking to your instructions. Obviously can generate its own. You can see even in ChatGPT, it suggests some more ideas. Even if you didn't ask about something, if it is related, it can suggest. And it is not a tool, and it has become a partner for your activities. And every different forms or every different works, there are different applications. So the initial part of this presentation, I will briefly discuss what are the consequences or associations of heavy screen use. Now that in the current world there is an information overload. As I showed in that video, in 1.5 minute 3 video clips, you gather a lot of information, which is not actually very good, because they think, the experts or the neurological experts believe that our brain is not adapted or not evolved to filter that much of information. So that's kind of, it's like, that nature is, there is a saying that man is a kind of error of the nature kind of thing. Like that, this current technological advances kind of putting a kind of picture like that, that's an error of man, because the man's human brain or his body or whatever it is not actually evolved or kind of evolved that faster or couldn't adapt to that speed of these technological advances. So whatever that I am going to discuss, you would have already heard or you would have some idea, but we are just making sure from the evidences what is right and what level of evidence currently we have on these areas. So obviously it has, as we agree, both physical and mental health. One of the important part of our human life is the development part, particularly in the early age years. It is not easy to study these things, the development, how much it affects, because the development is not a single area, because there is a lot of areas. But there are impairments in the social development, particularly the communication. There are language skills, social skills, and play, which is an important part of children's life, where they tend to learn how humans interact, there is a lot of learning that the play is involved in, that I won't elaborate because of the time constraints. And there is evidence that academic performance also reduces. And there is a consensus among experts that the newer generation of people who tend to use screens excessively might lose their daily living skills. At least to some extent, or at least to some age or to part of life, the human interactions are kind of inevitable. You can't live in this world without human interaction or social interactions, and some of the basic daily living skills. So, the excessive screen use can lead to the children might not learn their essential daily living skills. So when they come across problems in their little life, it is becoming a bad problem. One of the other concerns parents might confuse is the autism. So what happens, or what the evidence currently says, is ASD or the autism doesn't happen only because of screen use. It's not a risk factor at all. But what happens is, if someone is using screen excessively, they can kind of come or mimic the presentation of a person with a mild spectrum of ASD. But still, if you take off the screen, so if you address that properly, then we can notice that they tend to improve. On the other hand, if an autism child, if they tend to use the screen excessively, which they are more likely to, unless the parents set limits, their symptoms can get worsened. So that means a milder spectrum of autism child can present like a severe autistic child. So when we address that, we can see a lot of improvement. The other area that we have a lot of evidence or strong evidence is obesity. More evidence is obviously coming from the western part of the world, but still, that most of our part of the world is also kind of aligning with western models and western whatever the ideologies. So it's more likely that we will tend to see, we are starting to see these problems in our areas as well. There are some evidence that it can lead to insulin resistance, it can raise the blood pressure by small levels kind of thing, but the evidence is mixed, not very strong. There is more need essentially coming. So the mental health, I'm touching briefly. Obviously, it also has strong evidence that it can lead to the relationship is bidirectional. It is very difficult to differentiate which causes what. But the depression and anxiety among the middle age or the old adults are one of the commonest consequences that we are seeing, even the adolescents. And also ADHD and behavioral issues. The teenage group in the ADHD and behavioral issues are more commonly seen in the children groups, and then the teenage groups, they have more body image and self-esteem issues. The cognitions, this also kind of not very clear still. because of the differences in the screen use, that people tend to use the screens for different reasons. So it is difficult to find how the effects are if you don't kind of focus on what type of use the person is using, and also the age. But what I want to tell is there is some evidence, particularly in the old age groups, it can lead to some improvements, because in the old age group there is this possibility that people's use of cognitive functions tend to get diminished, probably after retirement or something like that. So in that age group, there is some evidence that this can lead to some improvements.